Okay, so let's get right into it. Not all love stories start like a fairy tale. Some, they start with complications, a little bit of chaos, and, well, flower. Today, we're going to unpack the whirlwind romance of Asiphe and Truth, a couple whose journey is about as messy as it is beautiful.
And this quote from them, man, it just says it all, doesn't it? It perfectly sets the stage. It's this powerful idea that, perfection isn't the point. The real story is the journey itself, with all the bumps and scrapes along the way.
All right, let's go back to the very beginning. Because their first meeting, it wasn't just a simple, hi, nice to meet you. No, there was a pretty big catch right from the get-go.
Now take a look at this timeline, because this is wild. They meet in student housing on January 22nd. And then, just a little over 6 months later, bam, July 30th, there's a proposal. That is an incredibly fast track from being total strangers to deciding on forever.
And yep, here it is, the big complication. Truth is really open about this. When he met Asiphe, he wasn't available. He was already in another relationship. So this wasn't a clean slate. It was a messy, tangled situation that honestly could have stopped the whole thing right there.
But this is where it all turns. It's all about perspective. Asiphe's point of view here is so important. She says she didn't feel like a side piece. Instead, in her own words, she felt chosen. And wow, that single word, that feeling, it reframes the entire situation.
So, how do you even move forward from a start like that? Well, this next part of their story isn't about just letting things happen. It's about turning that messy start into a very deliberate choice to be together. This wasn't an accident. It was on purpose.
And their first impressions of each other are just fascinating. Truth says he was immediately struck by her energy. He called it confident, calm, and powerful. But Asiphe, she was a little more skeptical. She was thinking, is this guy smart or is he just kind of cheeky? But the thing that won her over, he was consistent. He just kept showing up for her.
And even with that super fast timeline we just saw, they'll tell you they didn't rush the important stuff. They knew things were messy, so they knew they needed a really solid foundation. That meant having a lot of deep, honest talks to make sure they were truly on solid ground before they made anything official.
And here's Truth, backing that up completely. He doesn't ignore the mess. He totally owns it. But he makes it clear that his decision, his choice to be with Asiphe was 100% real. It was a genuine turning point for him.
Okay, so if you thought the beginning of their story was messy, just wait. Get ready for the proposal. It is something else. And it perfectly captures the wild, unconventional, and kind of beautiful spirit of their whole relationship. So the plan sounds simple, right? It's her birthday, Truth's got a ring, he's going to pop the question. Pretty standard stuff, you'd think. But the way he did it was anything but standard.
You heard that right. I am not making this up. No breakfast in bed, no romantic music. His grand romantic gesture was to wake his sleeping girlfriend up by dumping a mix of cake flour and water on her head. I mean, what? So, as you can probably imagine, Asiphe's reaction was, well, completely normal. First, just total confusion. Then, anger. And then, screaming. She had zero idea this was leading to a proposal. All she knew was she was awake and covered in sticky goo.
And what would you do? She ran. She literally ran away from him, covered in this floury mess, probably thinking, what is happening?
So at this point, you got to be thinking, okay, this is it. This is a proposal disaster. The story's over, right? A complete and utter fail.
But no, that's not the end. Because when Asiphe came back, probably ready to let him have it, she found Truth, also covered in flour, down on one knee holding out a ring. In an instant, all that chaos just melted away into this incredibly sincere moment.
And this really says it all. For Truth, being in that ridiculous, chaotic moment and seeing her come back to him, that was it. That was his crystal clear moment of knowing. He wanted to build a life with her, mess and all.
Okay, a crazy proposal is one thing, but how do you actually go from that to building a real, lasting relationship? Let's look at the actual rules they live by to keep their connection strong.
For them, it comes down to these 4 things. Radical honesty, which makes total sense given how they started.
Intentional forgiveness, because you have to move past that. Constant laughter, clearly. And this last one, something they call heart check-ins.
And I absolutely love this. It's such a simple but powerful practice. It goes way beyond just, hey, how was your day? Asking, how is your heart? That opens up a totally different kind of conversation. It's a way to intentionally make space for real vulnerability and stay connected on a deeper level.
So, when you put it all together, what's the big lesson we can take from Asiphe and Truth's unconventional, messy, flower-dusted journey?
At the end of the day, their story shows us something really important. You don't need a perfect, clean beginning to have a strong, lasting love. What really matters is that ongoing choice. The choice to be honest, to forgive, to laugh, and to keep choosing each other day after day, especially when things get messy. And that leaves us with a pretty big question to think about. Their story really challenges our classic ideas of romance, doesn't it? It makes you wonder, can the most real, most authentic love stories actually grow out of the most complicated, imperfect beginnings? For them, it seems the answer is a resounding, flower-covered yes.